All right, everyone, welcome to the podcast. Going to do a quick little rundown of the first part of the Bellator Featherweight Tournament. I'm here with Mr. TeepToTheJunk. How you doing, sir?
Yes!
I'm going to screen share the card, and we're just going to make some quick picks for the September 7th card. I believe that's the Bader-Kongo card in San Jose, California. And so let me do a little screen share here, and we will look at this card and do some quick picks. You see my screen all right there, Teep?
Not yet, but my shit is slow. So
No,
good. Give it a second. There it is. Now I see it.
All right, cool. This is the first round of part of the first round, I should say, of the featherweight tournament, 16-man tournament. We're going to be covering it all. Well, let's just start with the Sam Cecilia against Pedro Carvalho fight. What do you think about this matchup? I'm gonna let you go first.
Oh man, I see. Okay, so Carvalho, I should probably get on Tapology and pull this up myself because I can't see it. It's too small on my phone.
I could zoom in for you.
Oh yeah, zoom in a little bit. Let's see here. But anyway, Carvalho, I actually consider him the hottest prospect out of SBG right now.
Can you see that
they've
better?
got a few. They got some dudes over there, but he upset Daniel Crawford in London, and he wasn't expected. He was a big ass underdog on Tapology for that fight.
Mm-hmm.
And he upset. It was a really dynamic fight, and he showed intense ability in all positions. Like he was in some bad positions, and he got out of them. Put the other guy in some bad positions. So like I don't know if it was a split decision or if he just narrowly won.
Daniel Crawford was a split decision, yeah.
Yeah, but man, he earned that win because he really kicked some ass. And Crawford, of course, went on. He lost to AJ McKee.
And he is also coming off a win against Derek Campos, who also we're going to be talking about on the same card. So just for
Campos is a really rugged guy. And
for the sake of time, I'm gonna pick Pedro in that fight. Who you got?
I got Pedro. Stylistically, it's set for him. Campos is tough, rugged. He can take a shot. But Carvalho's last fight, you see the body kicks.
Mm-hmm.
And he just mowed him down, and it was just absolutely brutal. And I feel like Cecilia is a good fighter, but I think just Carvalho is he's got the youth. I think he's in his early 20s. He's a really young guy, and he just looks so good. So he has like a deceptive pro record. He's 10-3 now. He's on a little bit of a streak, but he doesn't have that record where you're like, oh,
he is 23 years old.
Better and better.
No, I agree with you. I'm gonna. I'd take Pedro in this one. Probably a unanimous decision is what I'd say, just because Cecilia is tough. Although I feel like Cecilia is one of the weaker fighters on this featherweight Grand Prix or tournament. Moving on though, Emmanuel Sanchez against Taiwan Claxton. This is probably one of the most interesting opening round fights for me, and one of the hardest to pick. But I could say right off top, I've seen nothing but good things from Claxton. However, Sanchez has beaten almost everyone in the tournament. I think it was you who informed everybody that 8 of his last 11 have come against people in this tournament. Is that correct?
Yeah, 8 of his last 11 fights were against tournament guys, and he went 5-3.
Yeah, that's crazy.
He lost to Karan, Weishel, and Pitbull.
Right.
But and then he beat Karakhanyan twice. Who else did he beat?
Well, I know Speedy's your boy. This one's for me is hard to pick because Sanchez has shown. He's a good fighter, but he's shown flashes of greatness at times.
Yeah, his transitions are beautiful, and he's so busy. So like he's not a guy you take down and then you're safe. You take him down, and he's like, this is my other world, and he gets right to work. It's beautiful to see, and he makes things happen. He's very very dynamic and spatially aware in those transitional moments, and that's one of the most dangerous things a fighter can have. Part of what made Fedor the greatest pound for pound all time was his transitions. He would go from A to B to C just effortlessly. And Sanchez is obviously a small guy, different style of fighting, but he's very, very good. Problem for him is he's up against Claxton, who is not only capable on the feet, including flying shit, but his groundwork is something special. Like he has his top control and his wrestling, his ability to posture up and deliver damage, not just hold a guy, but start making him wish he was never alive.
Right, right.
It's a
So
tough fight.
how would you
Sanchez is
see this one
such a
going? If I had
badass.
to pick, I'm going to say that it's going to be a split decision. Uh, Man, it's hard for me. Split decision is all I could say right now. I mean, when we do a full show, I think I'll have a better clue on who to pick. But geez, it's just hard for me to pick on this one, man. I just see it being a split decision one way or the other.
Yeah, this is my favorite fight of the opening round. I mean, I love all the fights. Don't get me wrong, but this is the one where I'm feeling the most internal tension about what the hell is going to happen because Claxton is something extra special. He's not like there are prospects, and then there are guys where you're like, oh shit, I hope I'm watching, you know, in 5 years when everyone's, being like, this guy came out of nowhere. I want to be one of the people saying, no, 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 he was here already. We just,
Well, and
you just haven't seen him destroy the right people.
well, and I think though, if I mean, these two guys here, if I had to do an early pick, I'd say that if these two guys weren't facing each other, and since they are, one of these guys is going to end up in the final four. The winner of this fight, I think, is going to end up in the final four. That's why it's just so hard for me to pick. And like I said, I just split decision. Who you got?
I'm going to go with Claxton, but it's the ever so slightest lean. And it's not so much picking against Sanchez. I just see Claxton stylistically, man, he's a tough puzzle. But Sanchez is a truly gifted fighter. It's really fucking hard to pick.
Yeah, and
But
the
I'm
thing
just
is we haven't
slightly
seen
leaning.
Claxton against anybody like Sanchez, right?
No, this is easily like by some enormous magnitude the toughest fight of his career. And Sanchez is fought killer. He's only lost lately to badasses, but he's also won, I think, 5 of his last 6.
Right, right.
Bounced back from the Pitbull loss, and he gave Pitbull a hell of a fight too. I mean, this is clearly one of the best in the world of the weight. Claxton, I just think the question, it's almost like a Ed Ruth, and then later with the Neiman Gracie thing with Roy. It's like, are they ready yet? Not can they be
Right.
among upper elite. Is it Claxton's time now, or is Sanchez too much? Because other fighters like Corrales, they had that same situation. They came in and they were overmatched. They couldn't chip the very, very top. But then they started to mature, and then especially like Corrales. Now he's at the MMA lab. He's
Right.
fucking people up, and
Well, and that's why I
looks
think
like a new fighter. But it's the same guy.
one of these two fighters is going to get to the final four, just because if Claxton is able to overcome Sanchez, then there's his test, and I think it's one of the hardest tests in the tournament, and so that's probably going to put him on enough high and enough experience to get him through. So you're picking Claxton any way of finish?
We cut off for a sec. You here?
Oh yeah, I'm here. What was last? I said
Okay,
you were
keep going.
picking. I was just saying that I think Claxton, if he wins this fight, that's why I told you that one of these two guys is going to the final four. Because if Claxton wins this, there's his test, there's his experience to get through to the final four. You got a way that this is going to finish? You think it's going to be a decision?
So I'm playing it through in my head, and I think what we're gonna see is Sanchez come in strong like fucking fire, and Claxton take the first round. I think Sanchez is gonna have an advantage, more experience.
Mhm.
Just he's fought better fighters. Not saying who is a better fighter between them right now, although
Right.
we know who's more experienced, but he's fought better fighters too. That counts. Like when Rory went up and moved up and fought Mousasi. Well, if you look at who each of them have fought, the guys that Rory fought would almost all lose to the guys that Mousasi has fought if you start digging in his career and the weight classes they were at. And so Sanchez has a higher level of opposition, which is an advantage early. But I think Claxton's going to make adjustments in round 2. The pivotal thing will be if he can impose his wrestling in round 2. And if he can, he's going to win the last 2 rounds and win a decision.
That's why, to me, it's a split decision, and it's all about that second round, or that third round, I should say, because I think that Claxton will make some adjustments. I do think Sanchez is probably going to take the first round just based on experience alone, a little bit more pressure, and both fighters being a little bit tentative. Starting the tournament, both fighters are going to be tentative, as we're going to see in most of these matchups, you'd think. But yeah, it's hard for me, man. Like I said, I'm going to need a little more time to analyze and digest that fight before I pick a steady winner. I just see a split decision. For the sake of time, again, we got Pat Curran and Adam Borix. What do you got in that fight?
Holy shit, this is a great fight. Curran, looked more. He survived more easily against McKee than any of his opponents had,
Mhm.
which isn't like the same as saying he beat McKee, but coming off a layoff and looking that good, that was
Mhm.
pretty intense. And because McKee is getting better and better and better, and he was a tough puzzle for McKee. You could see some of the angles and some of the things he was doing in there. It's not McKee's other opponents don't move in the space the same way as Karan, don't have that level of experience. We saw Karan take him down. Now, once he got down there, McKee was like hitting him with elbows and punches and shit, pushing off, trying to get butterfly guard or kicking off with his heels. It was beautiful. But he did get him there. And I feel
Mhm.
like with Borix, who's an excellent fighter, especially stand-up, he's flying shit capable,
Do you
which should be
remember if that?
mentioned
Do
about.
you remember if that McKee fight was 30-20? I know it was a unanimous decision. Do you remember the scores by chance?
I think I scored it. I'm trying to remember. I get them all confused. They all run together. But if I'm not mistaken, it might have been that the commentators were saying it was 2-1. I don't know the judges, but I think I scored all three for AJ. Maybe I'm not actually. You know what?
Let me see what. Let me see if
Yeah,
Tapology here has it, because I don't quite remember that either. I mean, I remember that fight, and I remember McKee getting taken down.
but then he did the damage once they got down there.
Right,
Yes.
right. But it was the first
Mhm.
fighter to really impose that kind of stuff on McKee. Yeah, it doesn't say what the cards were like. We'll have to look that up for the full show. But
People have McKee as an underdog, really. Wow.
McKee is the underdog. It looks like, huh?
If that's what the menu said,
McKee
I'm
was no.
scratching
This
my.
was Curran was the underdog. This was
Oh,
Curran
okay, that
McKee
makes
fight.
sense.
Um,
Yeah, because Kern is badass, but I would be surprised if someone would be like McKee's fight with Karakhanyan. I'd be shocked. You know, he should be a sizable favorite. Not that he's a sporting favorite when they we'll find out when they fight, but as far as like momentum and notoriety and everything, you
mhm.
know, like
Well, and
I wouldn't be
that's why in
surprised.
this one I just Curran's had a long career, even though he's only 31. As we know, you get into your 30s, and when you're a featherweight, a bantamweight, flyweight, your speed starts to slow down. I think he needs a lot of good lateral movement here against Adam. I'm going to take Adam Borix here, unanimous decision.
Yep, I could see it happen. I have a feeling Karan we're going to see him impose wrestling because it does seem to. It was like in the Pico fight, you could see Borix with a stand up, he was there, but once he was being wrestled, and Karan is a lot more busy than Pico was being
Mm-hmm.
in the fight. Like if he gets him down, there's going to be some damage coming. He has the experience to like the subtle muscle memory things to keep somebody in a position to throw with weight, throw ground and pound with weight without getting, sort of like someone exploding up so very easily. So I feel like Karan's going to take this one, maybe even finish him, maybe even choke him out late in the
Oh,
fight.
wow.
But picking against a badass like Borix is pretty stupid. I'll say that, but it's only because he's fighting Pat, who is an excellent fucking fighter,
Yeah, and a
and I'm
veteran,
really
he's going to have the
impressed.
experience as well. I could see that. Moving on to the co-main event of the night, which is actually the last of the featherweight tournament for that night before it resumes, I believe, on September 28th. Daniel Strauss against Derek Campos. For people that don't know Strauss's story, you should check it out. His motorcycle accident, how he was pinned under a guardrail. Shouldn't have really fought ever again. If he was a normal guy like me, probably would never compete again. Was able to get back in there and look really good in his comeback fight. I could tell you already, I'm taking Strauss by finish in the second round.
We might actually. I don't, Campos is very tough, but Strauss, man, it feels corny to use the term explosive for athletes because it's a generic term, and it's not it doesn't always translate because there's like a gas tank ratio as well. But Strauss, man, he packs a lot of oomph when he comes in. And I think he's gonna, the most likely thing, unless because I think Campos is coming down from lightweight, right?
Yes. Yes.
Well, they both are, but Campos is a lightweight.
Right.
Strauss fought up there for his comeback fight. Yeah, I think Strauss is gonna smash him. Maybe there's like a 20% chance that Campos' size, and he has a real lightweight, or he has a real chin on him. He's fought some heavy hitters, and it was like the body stuff, that maybe I don't know that Strauss is like particular to attack the body. So like Yeah, maybe a small chance that the size hits him and he hits him with
I could
something
see that, and I
looks
could also
hard.
see that if Strauss has any kind of trouble with the weight cut, considering he did come back as a lightweight, you just never know
Yeah,
about
true.
that. Strauss is a big fucking guy. For anyone who didn't see him on like Joe Rogan Experience, for example, God, he's a
He
huge
is big,
guy. His neck is big. He's just a big upper body guy.
right? Like Joe isn't a huge guy, but yeah, Strauss, when you're on there, you can be like, oh shit, you got some dimensions, bro. But
Well,
yeah, I
that's
think Strauss like wins 4 out of 5 times at least.
that's
So
the
like
first
heavy
four
favorite.
of the tournament. Just because we're here, we also got Ryan Bader and Czech Congo in the main event. How do you see that fight going?
Man, I was live at Bellator 216 in Mohegan Sun and saw Cup Cheik fight Minikov, and he only tagged him in the nuts once. So I don't even know. I don't know if there's a freebie rule with Congo, but he did win the. He wasn't. No one was robbed. Minikov ate some heavy low kicks. He
No,
had
but I
really
gotta
trouble
say that
closing
that
the
low
gap.
shot did seem like it changed the way that the fight was going, the direction of that fight was going, which I've seen before with eye pokes and low shots.
Yeah, I believe. I feel like things like that should be even if it's accidental, unless the other guy literally jumps into it, like a special technique to win on points by throwing your crotch at the shin.
Right.
Unless it's like that, it should be a point.
Point
Eye
right
poke,
away. Same with the eye
accidental
poke.
point. If it's on purpose, it should be a DQ. Like get the fuck out of here. You
Well,
can't
yeah,
hit
if you're
the guy
sticking
in
out
the
your
nuts.
hands, and just because we talk about the way it could change the way of the fight, the tide of the fight, you look at how many times eye pokes. I think the percentage. I was looking at something like it's over like 80% of the time that the guy gets eye poked, he loses, right? And I'd
Yeah,
like
I
to
wouldn't
see
be
some stats
surprised.
on the low kicks because you get kicked in the balls and there goes your adrenaline, right?
True, but I will say that I didn't see. Sorry, blazing.
Mr. No Pitcher over here smoking it up.
Yeah, sorry, I had to get my Diaz on. So I will say that no one got robbed in that fight. Like I
No,
see people online being like, "Oh, Minikov got robbed." No, he fucking didn't. It was disappointing that he couldn't close the gap, and that when he did, it was difficult for him a lot of the time. But he didn't get robbed. He lost the fight, and he's fighting Ayala, Javi
mhm.
Ayala. So that's a good fight coming up
Yeah, we're going
as
to talk
well.
about that in an upcoming
25.
podcast as well. And then the
Well, they
fact that
earned
Congo's
his
on an 8 fight win streak, right? I mean, beating the likes of
right.
Volkov, Ayala himself, Timothy Johnson, Minikov. You know what I mean? Jeez, this is a hard fight to pick.
Yeah,
Based on what Bader is doing, I'd say I'd lean towards Bader, but I would only say maybe 65%. I really think Congo has that much of a chance if he could bully him up against the cage and really take some of the power off of Bader's strikes by making him tired and take it to the later rounds. I think Congo can win this by decision. I'm not saying that he will. I just think that he can. Otherwise, I think Bader might finish him early.
yeah. I feel like Congo. He's so fucking big. I was telling you earlier. He made Roy. He's like a Karatanov guy.
Mm-hmm.
Karatanov made Roy Nelson look like a little kid. Congo is so big. Minikov's not a tall guy, but he is a big guy.
Right.
Congo just made him look like a child, and in the fight, it played out that way. Like he's a long, lean, supersized Anderson Silva lean. He doesn't fight like him, but so like when he kicks from outside of kicking range. If you're not a big ass dude yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and Bader is a big guy, but he's not that kind of big guy. I think the kicks of Czech Congo, hopefully not to the fucking nuts. He needs to wear a cast iron cup, but the kicks of Congo could make the difference. And if they do, I feel like it'll be early in the fight. Like if it ends in the first round, I favor Ryan by hands or Congo by kicks, body
Yeah,
kick,
I could see that. My
leg
problem with
kick.
Congo finishing is that he's only 2 of his last 8 in a row has been finishes. That was against Ayala and Timothy Johnson, who we're going to see competing pretty soon here at Bellator. And they were both in the first round. He does have the hand power. I would agree with you. I just think that with Bader, Congo needs to be careful in the first round. And so he needs to, like I said, try to trap him against the cage, try to use that weight that we're talking about, some inside knees, things like this to wear him down and then try to get the decision is what I would do if I'm Congo because finishing Bader has not proved to be an easy task here lately.
Yeah, and I think like I saw Ryan just absolutely, like the term manhandle is overused. You don't have to throw someone around. That's more of a ragdoll, but absolutely manhandle Mitrione, who,
Yeah,
you know, like who has competitive fights, win or lose, has competitive fights with lots of people.
and is strong
Just
himself.
absolutely schooled him. Half the crowd left during the third round. Halfway through the third round, half the crowd walked out. That's how one-sided the fight was. Like, once he was down in the third round, everyone just started packing their shit up because they're like, he's not getting up. Like,
Well,
there's
people,
no way, he has no chance.
right.
It was like a certainty, and people just left. They just didn't even, you know,
Wait.
I stayed. But that's how good Bader is at wrestling. I believe the most likely outcome is Bader absolutely wrestle fucks Kongo. Not that it's easy to wrestle fuck Kongo, but Bader is not your average guy. He's in his absolute prime. He's one of the pound for pound top guys in the sport. Even
Well,
if
and
the
people
draw
don't realize that
was
even
there.
going back to the UFC, he had beat Ilir Latifi and then Rodrigo Nogueira, right? Both finishes, I believe. And, you know, people act like he left the UFC on a loss or something. That wasn't the truth at all. He actually left on a 2-fight win streak before going to Bellator, before beating
That's right.
Phil Davis. So
And also
like
wins
I
over
said,
Dave.
I got 65% Bader. If I had to guess, it would probably be a finish for Bader or a decision for Kongo is what I'm looking at. But
Yeah. Hey, something else worth mentioning: the win over, the wins over Davis. Like Davis, with DC moving to heavyweight and Rumble retiring, Davis is like one of their top. Would have been one of the UFC's top handful of fighters, as would have Bader. It would have been them and Jones. So
yep,
that's Jones's problem right now. Is he has guys to fight, but he doesn't have that many guys to fight who've beaten the guys. Because
right.
he's beaten the guys who've beaten the guys. So he's running because they both left. So Bader beating Davis, if that had happened in the UFC, that would be a heavy fucking duty fight. Those are some of the absolute top. And now we have Nemkov. One of Fedor's proteges came in and snagged this, I think, a split decision over Davis, proving he's in that upper echelon of like, because if you're not going to beat Davis.
Right. Well, and the
You're gonna
Bader,
get wrestle
to be
fucked.
fair, the Bader win over Davis was also a split decision, and it was close.
Yeah, because he's that good. I saw him fight Leite, the Brazilian. He was undefeated at the time at Penn State. And it was not an exciting fight, but seeing Phil Davis in person, he moves kind of like he's like Gumby, on a skateboard or something. But he's so hard to pin down. Even Rumble, like if you look at Rumble's victim list, Davis made it the distance.
Yeah.
In that UFC run, Davis, because he's like kind of springy. It's like he's a weird, awkward style, but
hard to
he is
finish for
so
sure.
hard to land flush on. And
Yep.
He has certain moves that people see coming, but you don't want to get hit by it. Like he has a thing where he does like a low cross and like a leaping left hook that he hits guys with and stuff. He has certain moves, but then his grappling is outstanding. So, yeah, beating Davis is a big fucking deal, but people don't see it. They don't really.
Well,
I
I don't know why people don't see it because, to my knowledge, Davis has never been finished in his pro career. I'm going to look that up real quick, but I mean, I know he lost that split decision to Bader. I know the Nemkov fight was a split decision. Let me see what else. Yeah, Bader, another split decision. Rumble Johnson, unanimous decision. And Rashad Evans, unanimous decision. Never been finished in his pro career.
No, and I can fully understand that. I mean, and you can see it in the Rumble fight. Obviously, the great Daniel Cormier just broke Rumble twice, but no one else did. Not lately. Not when he fully realized his mega Rumble self. Like when he went full over him and just was enormous. This enormous wrecking ball.
That second Cormier fight, man, when he pulled up on his head to get the choke was something fucking legends, man.
DC is one of the all-time greats. He's one of the guys that if you put him, like, you wouldn't even have to change his age. If you just have him come into MMA in 2004 after the 04 Olympics and compete, he would have been one of the greats of the golden age, along with like Fedor, Krokop, Barnett, and Big Nog.
Well, and that's why it's weird. It's weird to talk about Rumble like that because he lost to Josh Koscheck by a rear naked choke, right, at 170 pounds, where he clearly probably never belonged. And I do believe he chronicled his weight struggles trying to get down to 170.
Probably safer. He was probably safer at 185, and then as he kept swelling, he just light heavyweight. Now, if you see him lately, he's almost round. I mean, he couldn't make light heavyweight. There's not.
I'm not even sure he can make heavyweight.
He's probably. It's hard to tell from a photo. I don't know how tall he is, but he looks like 245, like big or bigger, like really, really big.
Yeah, at least he is pretty tall. I think he's above 6 foot, 6'1", 6'2", something like that. Last I remember, because he's taller than Cormier, and Cormier is 5'10". But no, it just goes to show how good Phil Davis is. You know, I mean, like we talked about,
Yes.
he's been hurt. I've seen him hurt. I mean, I've seen him get caught with a flush shot or two, but like you said, he's really good at evading the follow-up shots. There's just something about that guy and the way that he moves. And so I think that just goes to prove how good Bader is by beating him twice, both split decisions again, but still. So just to
You're
wrap
right.
up,
He was fighting one of the top fighters of his era in that weight class. You know, I mean, it's serious shit. But let me tell you, like on the Bader-Kongo matchup, I do think Bader can impose his wrestling on Cheik. I don't know if anyone else in the division can do it, but it's also like, for credit for Bader, he won the tournament. I think he got kicked once and no punches absorbed
right, right,
in 3 wins. Now what the fuck?
right.
King
Yeah, he
Mo,
caught
even
Mo
if
right
it's
away
fast
and
time,
caught
King
Faber
Mo,
right
Fedor,
away.
yeah, King Mo, Fedor, and Mitrione. You could have put harder guys. You could have, if you had the whole sport, you could have found harder opponents. But
Well, and honestly, you know,
beating those 3 guys,
flash knockouts happen, but I just got to say that I think honestly one of the most impressive wins was the Mitrione, because Mitrione also didn't touch him and wasn't able to get out from underneath him. And Mitrione is a strong guy who has good wrestling.
yeah, he is. Mitrione trains with a lot of big guys. He's one of the heavyweights who has a lot of heavyweight sized men to train with. He's always
So for all the
talked about
people that are like, oh, you know, flash knockouts happen, yeah, they do. But you look at the Mitrione fight, that doesn't just happen. You know what I mean? People don't just control Mitrione for 3 rounds.
Yeah, Bader's just so much better than he was. He was already very, very good. He was already a super
That being
elite.
said, though, DC demolishes Bader, in my opinion.
DC, when they were beefing after the when he got, you know, like when him beat Rumble, and it was his moment, and him and Bader were beefing, I would have picked DC hands down.
Yeah.
Right now, where Bader's like 35, DC's 40 and change,
Yeah, but at heavyweight,
I pick
DC's a
Bader.
different dude.
I would lean Bader, but I would cheer for DC.
Yeah,
I'm never
I
gonna
would
cheer
lean
against
Bader
one
in
here.
a
Just
light heavyweight matchup, but in a heavyweight matchup, I just think DC's too much for anybody.
that's a good point. DC without the weight cut, but I think the age would play a factor. Like Bader's closer to his athletic prime,
True.
and his fight prime. I think it's just DC is so legendary. He still clocked the shit out of Miocic.
Well, let's go
He still got
UFC.
him.
Stop being so scared and step to the plate. And let's see some of these champ versus champ fights that the world wants to see, right? Let's see Cejudo
Right.
against Horiguchi. Like let's see these fights. This is what we want.
Yep. Hey, so let's call this segment as good,
All
and
right.
we'll do
Much
the
love.
other. It's been
We'll be
an
back. We'll
absolute
be back
pleasure.
talking about the rest of the featherweight matchups. Also breaking down that Bellator card on August 24th. But of course, we're going to be back talking about Ryzen 18 and UFC. What is it? 241, I think.
Yeah, must be.
We'll be talking about that, but this may not be out before then. But we'll talk, brother. Have a good one, man.
All right, brother. See you.